For strangers tried to snatch my wife right off our front porch last Tuesday. While I was stuck at work, nowhere near home, no way to help. They picked the wrong house. Let me just say that up front. My wife's not helpless. And our two dogs? Yeah, they might look like pets, but what they really are, well, let's just say you don't want to find out the hard way. What happened next? I've got all on camera, so don't even try to say I'm making it up. Now, before you even blink, hit the comments and tell me where you're watching from, because you're not gonna believe how this ends. My name's Blake Hamilton, and I teach high school history for a living. Never thought I'd be talking about HOA wars, or that I'd have to defend my family in what felt like a mini battlefield, right in my own backyard. It all started 6 months back with a letter taped to the door, official looking, lawyer talk, the works, telling us our dogs had to go, 48 hours or else. It was classic HOA flex, except there was this line in there about our military background being irrelevant to community safety. Now, that got my wife's attention fast, because, see, only one neighbor even knew we'd both served. My wife, Lily, used to train combat dogs overseas, and I ran K-9 units for years. Our dogs, Titan and Zara, are not just some sweet old German shepherd. And Molly and why you toss a ball to. They're trained, disciplined, and know how to size up a threat before it even knocks. But the real gut punch, that letter, the weird drone suddenly hovering over our backyard every evening, all those so-called violations piling up. None of it was about barking or yard height. It was personal. Lily started keeping records like she was back in military. Intelligence, snapping pictures, saving every letter, tracking dates and signatures. She was building a case, and I could tell. She was treating this like an enemy recon, not just some HOA nonsense. Then came Derek Nash, big guy, 40-something, showed up in a work shirt, flashing a clipboard, said he was with the city, wanted to inspect our property and animal behavior. Tried to pull the official routine. Lily asked for a badge, and the dude lost his cool in 2 seconds flat, told her it wasn't a request. But if you've ever seen a real commander, you know you don't intimidate a woman like Lily with a clipboard and a mean look. She sent him packing. But that night, I found fresh boot prints and tool marks by our shed. Someone tried our lock. These guys weren't just bluffing. What nobody knew, at least not then, was our HOA president, Chloe Foster, had a rap sheet a mile long in shady real estate deals before she ever showed up in our neighborhood. Turns out, she was using her HOA job as a personal revenge tour, targeting us for reasons that only clicked for Lily when she remembered running into Chloe during a bust overseas. Yeah, small world. All this is ramping up to that Tuesday, the day everything boiled over. I'm stuck in a faculty meeting at school. My phone starts blowing up. First, it's Lily, for men at the door. Say HOA emergency. Second, Derek has fake city papers, demanding entry. Third one just says, Blake, they grabbed me. Dogs activated. My stomach dropped through the floor. Dogs activated means Titan and Zara are not in pet mode. They're in protection mode, and that means things are about to get ugly for somebody on our porch. I bolted out of school, driving like a madman, just hoping to get there in time. What I didn't see until later, because thank God for Mike Torres, our neighbor with security cameras everywhere, was Chloe sitting in her car across the street, running the show by phone. The whole plan was to overwhelm Lily, get the dogs to bite, and then spin it as an unprovoked attack. Derek brought 2 goons who thought they were just helping with HOA work. They knock, more like pound, on the door, shoving paperwork in Lily's face. She stands her ground. Derek steps into the doorway. Jake and Tony try to flank her. Jake grabs Lily's wrist, hard. What happened next should be required viewing for anyone who doubts military K9s. Titan took Jake down without breaking a sweat, pinning him, but not hurting him. Zara went low, blocked Tony from running or interfering, that deep, warning growl just vibrating in her chest. All within 5 seconds. But get this, Derek's phone was rolling the whole time, hoping for evidence the dogs were dangerous. Instead, all it captured was 2 pros doing their jobs. No blood, no chaos, just perfect, controlled response. The whole neighborhood watched from their windows. Janet from next door actually yelled, "Those dogs showed more restraint than you idiots." And she was right. 10 minutes later, Deputy Lisa Carter shows up. She's got military in her own family, Thank God, and within a minute of reviewing the footage, she knows exactly who the real threat is. Derek can't prove anything about his fake job. Tony and Jake start ratting each other out, and Marcus, one of Chloe's other henchmen, gets his phone seized, too. And in those texts, evidence going back 8 months, notes about our routines, payoffs, threats, every dirty trick in the book. Even records that show Chloe had forced out 3 other families already, snatching up their houses cheap after months of harassment. The neighborhood starts waking up. Mike Torres, who's lived here longer than anyone, organizes a legal defense fund. Janet gets a petition going. Over 800 signatures in 3 days. Neighbors who'd been quiet suddenly find their voices. But Chloe? She doubles down. She files animal control complaints, tries to get Titan and Zara declared dangerous, floods the block with stories about killer military dogs. Friday's the big day, assessment. Our dogs have to pass a behavioral test, where even one protective response could get them seized. Chloe is across the street with her new crew, cameras rolling, ready for any slip. But the real twist? Out of nowhere, Tina Coleman, Chloe's own assistant, runs over with a USB stick, hands it to Deputy Carter, and starts talking fast. She's got everything: phone calls, emails, bank transfers. 3 years of organized fraud, not just in our neighborhood, but across 5 others, hundreds of families. That was it. FBI came in, arrested Chloe, Derek, Marcus, whole crew. The dogs? Released immediately. Lily started training other K9s for anti-fraud work. Neighborhood healed fast after that. Block parties, real community. Even the property values went up. But Chloe, in her final court appearance, tried to burn us with one last lie, claiming our dogs were part of a secret weapons smuggling ring. The judge didn't buy it, not for a second. Titan and Zara did a courtroom demonstration, pure poetry. Everybody cheered, even the animal control officers. Chloe's in prison now, all assets seized, barred from ever running an HOA or real estate scam again. The media called us the family who fought the HOA and won. But really, it was 2 dogs who did what they were trained to do: protect their own, expose evil hiding in plain sight. So let me ask, what would you do if someone tried to use the system to take your family down? Would you trust your community to have your back? Or would you fight tooth and nail until the truth came out? Drop your answer in the comments. And yeah, don't mess with military dogs or their family. That I wish I could say that was the end, that you bust the bad guys, the community rallies, and life just snaps back to normal. But you know how it goes. There's always one last twist nobody sees coming, right? Yeah, that happened. See, after Chloe went down, after the judge handed her that brutal sentence and the headlines died down, you'd think things would finally settle. Instead, it felt like we'd kicked a hornet's nest. Suddenly, everyone with a grudge or a secret wanted a piece of our peace. You ever notice how when the big threat's gone, the little ones crawl out of the woodwork? Our neighborhood was finally free, but people had scars, and some weren't ready to let go of the fear. For weeks, reporters camped on our street, news vans, bloggers, you name it. Titan and Zara basically became local celebrities, kids making hero dog drawings, people dropping off treats on our porch, wanting selfies. You'd think it'd be sweet, but after everything, even a knock on the door made my wife flinch. Lily, who'd faced down actual enemies, was sleeping with one eye open because she knew just how easy it was for bad people to hide in plain sight, using rules and paper to hurt you without ever breaking a sweat. The weirdest part? Some neighbors who'd been too scared to speak up before started turning on each other. Old Mrs. Thompson, who once told us to move because of our dogs, left an anonymous letter on our porch apologizing for not standing up sooner. A couple houses down, the Millers were selling, said they couldn't live with the memories, the stress. At block parties, you'd catch people glancing over their shoulders, making sure nobody was watching before they shared what really happened to them under Chloe's reign. The trauma was real, and I don't blame them. Fear sticks to a place, you know what I mean? Meanwhile, Lily's anti-fraud K9 program was exploding. Cops, animal control, even some banks reaching out, wanting her to train their teams. It was like she'd found a calling in all the chaos. But honestly, sometimes I wondered if it was just her way of fighting the guilt. She'd sit out back with Titan and Zara, running drills by moonlight, whispering to them like old friends who'd seen too much. "You saved me," she'd say, and sometimes I'd see her, wiping her eyes, pretending it was just the wind. And me? I kept teaching history, but I started paying way more attention to the stories that never make the textbooks. The people who fought quiet. Wars in their own backyards. The battles you don't see unless you look real close. I started keeping a journal, jotting down details, names, moments. Because sometimes, if you don't write it down, the world just moves on and forgets what almost happened. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared us for Chloe's last desperate move. You'd think prison would break her, right? Turns out, some people would rather burn everything to the ground than see someone else win. From county jail, she started filing lawsuits, one after another, against us, against the HOA board, even against the city. Claimed our dogs were unregistered weapons, that we were running a black market K9 operation, that Lily was selling attack animals under the table. The sheer gall. Yeah, it was almost impressive in a twisted way. Thing is, her lawyer wasn't dumb. He knew every crazy accusation would get picked up by local media. So now, instead of stories about hero dogs and justice, we're fielding questions about illegal military animals and whether the Hamiltons are endangering the community. The neighbors who'd been on our side started getting nervous again. Animal control came knocking, more inspections, more paperwork, more of that bureaucratic terror that grinds you down without ever getting its hands dirty. I'd wake up at 2 a.m., check the locks, check the cameras, listen for anything out of place. Titan would lift his head, ears up, like he could sense my nerves all the way down to his bones. Sometimes I'd just sit there on the porch steps, watching the street, wondering if we'd ever feel safe again. Then, out of the blue, a new family moved in next door. A single mom, 2 little boys, and a golden retriever named Max who barked at his. On reflection, her name was Andrea. She was quiet, polite, clearly a little scared. On her 3rd night, she knocked on our door, hands shaking, and handed Lily a stack of letters, anonymous threats. Almost word-for-word copies of the garbage Chloe used to send. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. "I just want my kids to be safe." Let me back up a sec. This is the part where I realized. No matter how many bad guys you put away, there's always someone waiting to fill the vacuum. Somebody else in the old HOA circle, trying to stir up trouble, maybe even copycats who read about Chloe online and figured they could make a buck off fear. The fight wasn't over. It never really is. So, we did what any stubborn military family would. We showed Andrea everything. The camera setups, the legal folder Lily kept, the what to say if they show up at your door checklist. Titan and Zara instantly took a liking to Max, and soon enough, those boys were running wild in the yard, laughing for the first time since they'd moved in. That's when it hit me. Maybe the point isn't to make the world safe. Maybe it's just to make your little corner strong enough that the next person feels braver when trouble comes knocking. By the time the next HOA election rolled around, nobody wanted the job. I mean, can you blame them? The whole system was toxic, broken beyond repair. So, the neighborhood got together. No titles, no fancy boards, just people, face to face. We rewrote the rules ourselves, made everything public, transparent, old-school handshake deals, the works. It took months, some late nights, a lot of arguing. But slowly, you could feel the fear start to lift. Lily started inviting neighbors over for K9 demos, showing kids how to approach a working dog, teaching parents what real discipline looks like. Word spread, and soon families from other blocks were coming by, asking for advice, bringing cookies and coffee, just wanting to talk. For the first time in years, our street felt like a community again, not a battlefield. As for Chloe, last I heard, she tried to file one more lawsuit from federal prison, something about emotional distress and wrongful conviction. The judge tossed it in 2 minutes flat, called it a masterclass in self-delusion. The news cycle moved on, the world kept spinning. But our lives? They'd changed forever. Sometimes, when the sun sets just right and Titan and Zara are napping by Lily's feet, I catch myself thinking about what almost happened. How close we came to losing everything. How easy it would have been to give up, move away, start over somewhere nobody knew us. But then I hear the laughter from Andrea's boys, the clink of glasses from a backyard barbecue. And I know we made the right choice staying and fighting, no matter how hard it got. So here's my question for you. Yeah, you, The one who stuck with this story to the end. What's your line in the sand? How far would you go to protect your family, your home, your community, when the enemy isn't some stranger, but someone wearing a neighbor's smile? Drop your answer below. I read every comment. And if you've ever gone up against the system and won or lost, I want to hear about it. Maybe your story's the one that helps someone else find their courage. That's all for now. Titan and Zara are looking at me like it's time for a walk. Maybe just around the block, maybe a little further, just to make sure the world's still as safe as we left it. Stay strong out there. And don't let the bad guys win. Not in your house, not on your street, not ever.